In the last video, I briefly mentioned cold air going across the Great Lakes. Well, when cold air goes across the Great Lakes and the Great Lakes are not frozen, excitement can happen. It's called lake effect precipitation. This happens when cold, dry air moves across a relatively warm body of water. The cold air saturates quickly. Remember, cold air cannot hold a lot of water, but the air acts like a sponge. It wants to absorb water, and then drops large amounts of precipitation, generally snow, on the leeward side, the back side of the lakes. After the saturated air passes over the lake and it hits the cold land, this is particularly the case in the winter because of the continental influence. Of course, the lakes are going to be warmer than the land is. This further cools the air mass and brings even greater amounts of snow. It's very common in some areas of the Great Lakes. Buffalo is famous for it, Cleveland, Erie, Pennsylvania, Rochester, New York. Remember this diagram? You can see I circled the Great Lakes, and then notice coming out of Canada, the CP, continental polar, cold, dry air, and the CA, continental Arctic, extremely cold, dry air, moving over the top of the lakes. If the lakes are not frozen, or parts of them are not frozen, and of course the southerly parts tend to be the areas that don't freeze, as that cold, dry air goes over the top of the lakes, because it acts like a sponge, it's going to saturate quickly. And remember, cold air, as I said, does not hold a lot of water. And when it saturates, now it's going to dump large amounts of precipitation. Here's the way it happens. If you look on the left-hand side, you can see cold air is coming along and hitting a much warmer body of water. The water evaporates into the air, starts making clouds. Because the air is cold, the air saturates quickly, the clouds grow, snow begins to fall. And then when it hits the land, because the land is so cold, large amounts of snow begin to fall. I'll tell you a story very briefly. I was in Buffalo one time visiting my aunt. We arrived late at like midnight. My daughter was a little kid at the time. There were about 3 inches of snow on the ground. 2 days later, we were supposed to fly to New York City. And my daughter went out at midnight and made a snow angel. Okay, back and forth, that thing. The next day, about noon, it started to snow. Never snowed hard. But by 2 o'clock, there was a foot of snow on the ground. By 5 o'clock, there was 2 feet of snow on the ground. By 8 o'clock, there was 4 feet of snow on the ground. And over a 24-hour period, this is not an exaggeration, okay? People say this sometimes, and they don't really mean it. I mean it. 8 feet of snow fell in 24 hours. 8. Fortunately, on my aunt's street, people kept driving up and down the street all night, and so there was an 8-foot wall of snow on either side of the street like you were walking through a corridor. This all fell in 24 hours. It was remarkable.